Hari Om, a reading on Bhakti Yoga as taught by Reverend Jagannath Carrera. Bhakti Yoga, one of the 6 branches of yoga, seeks self-realization through devotion to any name and form of God. It is marked by practices such as prayer, chanting, song, ritual, listening to or reading stories of divine beings, and loving remembrance of one's chosen form of God, or Ishtadevata, as the indwelling presence in all people and objects in creation. Bhakti Yoga offers a path to the Absolute that is user-friendly. It is infused with all that is uplifting, nourishing, and healing in loving, committed relationships. It cultivates loyalty, devotion, faith, and a one-pointed focus on the object of devotion. Although bhaktas, or devotees, recognize that the Absolute is beyond the grasp of the mind, they make use of meaningful and inspiring symbols to aid in focusing attention, affection, and the highest aspirations. They regard the name and form that they worship not as an end to itself, but as a gateway to pass through in order to experience the transcendent Absolute. Symbols and imagery in Bhakti Yoga. Symbols are powerful images that reach the mind at the subconscious level. We are surrounded and affected by symbols every day. National flags, wedding rings, and souvenirs are just a few examples of concrete objects that represent powerful truths. It is these truths that we cherish and protect, not the objects. Photos of our loved ones connect us with the person pictured and call to mind feelings, thoughts, and memories that bring comfort and joy. Although a photo is only an image on paper, we would feel hurt if someone were to come along and step on it. Images are powerful links to truths. In many ways, they are stronger and more fundamental to our psyche than words. The use of symbols and rituals and spirituality help us to explore our relationship to such mysteries as the purpose of existence and the afterlife. When understood properly as objects for contemplation and exploration, they are effective tools for helping us stretch beyond ingrained patterns of thought regarding the self and life. But when symbols are taken literally, they lose their true power and can even lead to serious misunderstandings. For example, we may be confused by the worship of the goddess Kuan Yin, who is often depicted pouring water from a vessel while riding a dragon. In our culture, the dragon is associated with Satan, so the imagery may seem frightening. The symbolism beyond this image is powerful and positive. In the East, the dragon is a symbol of auspiciousness, and Kuan Yin rides it to distribute blessings to all beings. Misunderstandings such as this exist on the other side of the globe. There were some, unfamiliar with Christianity, who were dumbfounded when they witnessed Christians worship a seemingly dead God by consuming his body and blood. The bread and wine symbolize an invitation to share with Jesus in the dedication and sacrifice that leads to rebirth as a spiritual being. The images in both faith traditions hold universal teachings for living happy, fruitful lives. By being literal, we miss their beautiful messages. The easy path. Bhakti Yoga is often referred to as the easy path because love and devotion open our hearts and energizes and inspires us like nothing else. In the presence of love, fear evaporates, and faith transforms from mere belief to certainty based on direct experience. Meditation is natural to bhaktas because the mind enjoys thinking of the beloved. And since we also wish to serve those we love, devotion to God, the Creator, naturally manifests as selfless service to all creation. Our senses are also more easily mastered through the practices of Bhakti Yoga. The senses, always hungry to be fed, are filled with delights that uplift the spirit and direct attention to higher truths. The mind is engaged with beautiful images to contemplate, charming tales that present great teachings, the sweet smell of incense, uplifting chanting, and music, blessed food, and graceful, meaningful ritual. Obstacles to Bhakti Yoga. Some are hesitant to commit to anything that reminds them of institutionalized religion, which at its worst can be exclusionary and narrow. It brings up valid questions about paths filled with stories that can't be proven, invisible beings who grant wishes to some while ignoring others, and rituals that carry with them hopes and expectations of magical results. Behind all these questions is the biggest obstacle to understanding Bhakti Yoga. It is that three-letter word that has provoked confusion, war, radical fundamentalism, and extreme behavior of all kinds: God. The difficulty of allegiance to a supreme being is centered on questions of God's existence. Does God exist? Is there a being who created the universe, who governs its operations, and makes its decisions that deeply affect our chances at happiness in life? The answer to these questions is further complicated by the fact that the word God can represent very different meanings according to the tradition, experiences, and capacities of the individual. Scripture teaches that we are created in God's image. We can also say that the reverse is also true. We create a concept of God in our image. The mind, always on the lookout for concrete qualities that it can grasp, conceives of a supreme being who looks pretty much like us, but only bigger, stronger, wiser, and eternal. Usually, we also include some very human traits as well. God may occasionally seem to have a nasty temper and bless or ignore us. Finally, we look to the Almighty to be the embodiment of the loftiest human goals: justice, mercy, and unconditional love. After giving birth to this conception, we worship it as an absolute reality that exists outside ourselves. God, the ultimate reality, existence itself, the ground of being, the one who is beyond all beyonds, who is unbounded cosmic consciousness, is demoted by our conceptions to an object to be studied. In other words, the temptation is to shrink God to fit our notions rather than stretch, and eventually even let go of our conceptions to experience union with the transcendent absolute. The core of every faith tradition contains the principle that God is transcendent and beyond the grasp of even its own philosophy and symbols. We can't shrink God to fit our ideas, but we can experience union with the absolute by transcending the limitations of the ego. This state is attained when the heart is purified of selfishness, the mind is made perfectly clear, and we live the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is the core of spiritual life. It is what we call yoga. And here ends the reading. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. And may the light of truth overcome all darkness. Victory to that light.